So this whole Britt Baker MJF backstage drama story has been permeating the wrestling news cycle for about the last week or so, and I've tried to avoid it. I have not talked about it yet here on the show. And look, I get into the backstage drama here, but this one just seemed stupid and pointless. And just the epitome of drama. Sometimes drama's fun. If it's Jack Perry and it's CM Punk, or it's the Young Bucks and it's CM Punk, or it's CM Punk and some other guy and CM Punk and the other guy. Backstage drama is always fun. But sometimes it's just stupid, pointless high school drama. And that's what this whole MJF Britt Baker thing appeared to be. So I just wanted to leave it alone. But yet it keeps coming up and more people keep talking about it. In fact, MJF himself has now talked about it. He did an interview with Cultaholic Wrestling. The entire interview was in character, which was really fun. Every interview is always in character with MJF, but this one was particularly egregious. MJF was being the biggest heel, lying outright, putting over America, putting down the UK. It's just funny as hell. But in these moments of MJF just working and having fun and being in character, you do get what I do believe to be some true or mostly true information. And MJF kind of took a deep breath and sat back and gave the truth, or at least his side of the story as he's seen it, for this whole backstage altercation with Britt Baker. And I'm going to go ahead and play that clip, then we'll talk more about it on the back end.
It seems like you generate headlines wherever you go. Mm-hmm. In AEW recently, it's hit all the news headlines. Yeah. I would be a bad interviewer if I didn't ask about it.
Yes.
There's been all these reports of a backstage incident, a blow-up, whatever you want to call it, with Dr. Britt Baker.
Very real. Yes, it all happened. Hey, tell me if this passes the smell test, okay. Asshole? I barge into a woman's locker room. I scream in the face of an 110-pound woman, and then I physically threaten her by punching a wall in her vicinity, and I don't get suspended. Does that pass the smell test to you?
No.
Interesting.
I read a correction which then said you didn't barge into the locker room.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough corrections because almost everything that was written didn't happen.
Okay.
Listen, everybody has coworkers at work they may not get along with. I have a feeling that this was blown out of proportion because all of the English wrestling commentary places that make money off of people like me who are far more rich and talented and handsome and humble need clickbait. I can sit here and I can say wrestling is a very competitive sport. It breeds a level of insecurity like no other. However, I can easily, sitting here, I can put over any talent, regardless of whether or not I like them as a human being. I can sit here and I can tell you that Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné at Wembley on August 25th is going to be an epic match. And we should all be excited to watch it. I don't have to like all my coworkers, and that's fine. But yeah, dude, that was wild to read.
Yeah.
Wild to read.
So that was MJF's take from a guy that was, actually there and experienced the event. But we had to have a take from a guy who, wasn't there. He just hears things from other people who were there, and he has to be the fact checker in the room because he is the all-knowing, all-wise authority on the story, even though he was never in the room. And that, of course, coming from the Wrestling Observer camp, Bryan Alvarez, who had to rebut MJF's statements in the interview and give what he believes to be the actual story.
Most of the details that came out were true in the sense that the things happened, but when and where they happened and why and all of that, listen, I wasn't in the room. I don't know what happened, okay? I know that within AEW, there are people that like MJF. There are people that really do not like MJF. There are people who like Britt Baker. There are people who do not like Britt Baker. And so we got a situation here where everybody has a side and everybody is sympathetic to certain people based on what they know, what they saw, who they like and don't like, etc. So, I mean, what I can say about this from talking to a lot of people, and there were a lot of witnesses, a lot of people have talked to a lot of people. What I can say is, like, this is what I can say factually. It happened before the match. Britt and a number of the women were in the locker room. What they said, I don't know. Alicia texted Max, who was with Ospreay. I believe Ospreay went to the locker room first. Nobody stormed in. They did knock. They went in to discuss it. Ospreay was upset.
He called her bruv. Oh my God, if he called her bruv.
And then, I did hear one side that said that, once he talked to Britt about what they were, whatever, like they're okay now. Not the case with MJF. MJF apparently went in and he was upset. But then he left the room. He went into another area away from all of the women in the locker room. He did punch a wall there. And then later, Britt showed up and they had their big argument afterwards. Okay?
So, I've had thoughts on this. I just haven't talked about my thoughts. Because I thought, who cares? But apparently everybody cares because it's still being talked about over a week later. So let's go ahead and talk about it because I do have thoughts. This Alicia Tout chick, first of all. This is MJF's girlfriend, Tits McGee, they call her. She's an interviewer, I believe, some sort of backstage roving reporter type gimmick. I don't know that she's really in a position to be starting drama. I don't think it was a great look for her to start being like the backstage snitch, so to speak, on Britt Baker, who is, the head bitch in charge of the AEW locker room. So I thought that was maybe not a great way to ingratiate herself. But at the same point, she is MJF's girlfriend. And what do you expect? If Britt Baker's back there talking shit about MJF and Will Ospreay having a full hour on a 2-hour show, and it's supposed to be this big anniversary show, and everybody's all hyped, and everybody wants to be a part of it, and there's no time for everybody else, which is for this overinflated roster as it is, and you're giving just two guys a full half of the show. I like long matches like that sometimes. I don't mind that, but I do see why that would piss off the locker room. So Britt Baker's venting about this around MJF's girlfriend. What did Britt Baker expect to happen? Did she expect this Alicia Tout to, and make no mistake, she knows that that's his girlfriend, right? So did she expect her to be, silent on this and loyal to Britt or the women's locker room and not tell her man? I mean, look, anybody listening to this now, you have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or whatever you do in your private life. You're going to, and you overhear somebody talking shit about that person, you're going to go back and tell them. You would be disloyal to them if you did not. So Alicia Tout, I don't blame her, even though, like I said, it's not a great start to your AEW career to, be the snitch in the women's locker room to the head bitch in charge. But at the same time, the head bitch in charge should have been aware enough to know, hey, that's MJF's girlfriend over there. If I'm going to start bitching and ranting about MJF, it's probably going to get back to him. And maybe she didn't care. Maybe that was the point. I wouldn't care. If I was pissed, I'm going to vent. I don't give a shit who's in the room. I don't give a shit if Max is in the room. I'm going to vent about it. So maybe she didn't care. The other thing, Alicia Tout, a total fucking nepotism hire, by the way. I don't even know why she's there. She's not that great. She's like a poor man's Kathy Kelly, right? So she's really just there because MJF, signed a new deal, got a shit ton of money, got that tattoo because he got his girlfriend hired on top of it. That's just a guess. I'm just speculating, but obviously, right? Top star in the company gets his girlfriend a job. But I don't blame her. She's loyal to her man. MJF, on the other hand, I don't know that punching a wall in front of people is a good look. That's a hothead move. Can't say that I've never punched a wall when I was angry. It's a stupid thing meathead guys do. I get it. Anger, you gotta vent your frustration, and there's a wall there, and the wall's looking at you sideways. Punch it in its stupid nose. Hopefully it's like a drywall and not a brick wall, because the wall might win that fight if it's a brick wall. So MJF walking around being a hothead, going to confront Britt Baker. I don't know how confrontational that was. Supposedly Will Ospreay was there at the same time, so I'm sure MJF didn't just go and light Britt up. Britt and MJF are two of the pillars of AEW. They are two of the top stars in that company. Yes, MJF is your bread and butter, but Britt Baker, if you want a women's division, Britt Baker is the head bitch in charge, as I said, of that women's division. And suddenly these guys don't get along. I don't know what's up with that. They did before. Now Bryan Alvarez is saying there's camps that like MJF, don't like MJF, like Britt Baker, don't like Britt Baker. It's such a drama-filled locker room. Would you guys stop it? You all need to get on the same page, because your company sucks right now, and you all need to focus your energies into making AEW great again, to borrow a phrase, right? So put your bullshit aside. Quit squabbling backstage. Quit this stupid locker room drama. And don't let this shit leak out, too. I know Tony Khan was pretty afraid that this was going to leak out. And then one of the other things that Alvarez brought up is this has kind of created more heat backstage now, because Britt was suspended, but not MJF. And he pointed out several cases where both parties are always suspended in these situations. He pointed out poor Kenny Omega, who was only there to save a dog and got bit by some fucking rabid backstage agent. And he was suspended for his troubles. Christopher Daniels tried to break it up. He was suspended for his troubles, right? Like, everybody gets suspended, which is fine if that's your policy. Suspend everybody involved just to make a point. Just say, hey, I don't care who started it. Both of you get the fuck out of here. Go home. That was not the case, because MJF is that golden goose that lays that golden egg. Though, I think Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné at All In is not an angle to sleep on. That's a money angle too. Moné has not been money for AEW as of yet. She's been a giant, huge flop. Britt Baker is probably the absolute biggest match you can put her in. This is the biggest match for Britt Baker right now. It's a very high profile match that one of the matches I'm excited to see at All In. So it's a draw. MJF is a draw. Will Ospreay is a draw. I think, I get the frustration with the overinflated locker room and the lack of TV time. Not, when you give two guys an hour, and I'm sure Max gets a lot of special treatment, or at least appears to get special treatment from the locker room, and it can breed some resentment. But at the end of the day, you guys are all on the same team. And if you are Team AEW and you plan to stick around and you want to contribute and you want to make the company better, then sometimes you got to get behind your top guys. Will Ospreay, MJF are two of their top guys, and putting them in a 1 hour banger on national TV doesn't hurt. I mean, in fact, it helped the ratings, right? It popped the crowd. It worked. So shut the fuck up. You need everything that you can get. I wouldn't do long matches all the time. I wouldn't take all that TV time away from other people very often, but sometimes you should, and you can, and it's fine. So I think Britt Baker, just to wrap this up here, is in the wrong here. I think she never should have opened her big mouth. I know she's like the leader of the women's locker room, and she has a lot of stroke backstage, and she feels like she has the ability to speak out and speak out against the top guys. MJF, Will Ospreay, and do it right around MJF's girlfriend. Like, zero fucks are given here. I don't care who knows it. I'm pissed. She can feel free to act that way because she's a top star, but it's a bad look. It's jealous. It's petty. It's a bad look for the company. It's not being a team player. And, you know, how many people had to sit back when you and Thunder Rosa had big, long matches? You know what I mean? Like, maybe you haven't had a full hour, but definitely there's people that have had to sit backstage and watch you go for a long period of time. So it is what it is. Britt should have never acted that way. She definitely shouldn't have said it around Alicia. And I don't blame Alicia for telling Max, but Max overreacted too. If he punched a wall backstage, then he's a stupid meathead. He should be better than that. He's better than you, and you know it, so he should be better than that. But that's my 2 cents on this whole mess. I highly recommend watching this interview. I have linked it down in the description below. While you're there, you can hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button and leave a comment and all of the good things that help my channel grow. But I would check out that video because it's funny. It's pure MJF. And MJF always does his interviews in character, and he's always rather good at them. But this one I thought was particularly good. I mean, he was just as sharp as a tack, just beating the shit out of this interviewer guy, you know, just all over him. Great shit, great stuff. But there are a few little golden nuggets in there as well. So recommend watching. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes. Feel free to let me know who you side with down in the comments. Are you Team MJF, Team Britt Baker, or Team Don't Give a Fuck? Either way, let me know, and we'll move on to the next.
Ooh, yeah. Thanks for checking out the video. You can check out more great clips by hitting that subscribe button below. Yeah. While you're there, don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Ooh, yeah. Did it.